What's up, riders? Today we get to take a look at motivations and obstacles for your character. Let's go. In order to look at motivations of a character and what obstacles they overcome, we're going to look back at a text that you've probably read from the past, and it's called Everything Will Be Okay by James Howe. It's one of my favorite texts because it shows such quality writing that yet is so simple and is so replicatable. In other words, you could do the same thing that this author does. So pay attention. At first, I'm just going to read this section, and then we'll take a notice of the goals and wants and desires and motivations that our character has. The kitten is a scrawny thing, with burrs and bits of wood caught in its coat where it still has fur, and pus coming out of its eyes and nose. Its big baby head looks even bigger at the end of such a stick of a body. I found it in the woods at the end of my street where I play most days with my friends. This time I was alone. Lucky for you I was, I think. Otherwise, David or Claude might have decided you'd be good practice for their slingshots. Those two can be mean, I think to myself. I don't like playing with them, really, but they live at the end of the street, and sometimes you just play with the kids on your same street, even if they're mean. Sometimes, even to you. The kitten makes a pitiful noise. Don't worry, I tell it, stroking its scabby head until the mewing is replaced by a faint purr. Everything will be okay. I'm going to take you home, and my mom will give you a bath and some medicine. I tuck the kitten under my arm, under my jacket, and run out of the woods, across the street, down the sidewalk toward my house. I feel the warmth of the kitten through my shirt and start thinking of names. So the place I'd like to really call your attention to is the end there, that last paragraph, and even the one before it. So he's talking to the cat, telling it not to worry. He's telling the cat everything will be okay and that he's going to take the cat home. So he really cares for this kitten, and it would seem like he really wants a cat. So in this first section, we've established that our main character wants a cat. He wants to care for this. Now, that is what our character's motivation is. However, we actually see that there could be obstacles normally that would get in the way of what our character wants. And in this case, he mentions a couple friends of his that might have actually gotten in the way of him getting to take the cat with him. In our next scene, again, we're going to see what motivates our character, what do they want, and then we're going to be able to have an idea maybe of what could get in the way. I'm only 10, so it will be 5 or 6 years before I work for Dr. Milk. My two oldest brothers work for him part-time in summers when they were teenagers. Now my other brother, Paul, works there. Dr. Milk is the vet out on Ridge Road. He takes care of our dogs, and he will take care of my kitten. I never had a pet that was my very own. A couple of years ago, my father got a new beagle to replace the old one that had died. Patches was his name. He called the new one Bucky and said that Bucky could be mine, but saying a thing is so does not mean that it is. Bucky lives in a kennel out back, keeping his beagle smell, which my mother hates, far away from the house. I feed Bucky some days and play with him, but I am not allowed to bring him inside to sleep at the end of my bed or curl up next to me while I do my homework. Bucky is an outdoor dog. He is a hunting dog. He is my father's dog, really. So we see there that he again wants an animal. And this is the section that immediately follows the last one you read. He wanted a cat in the last one, and this one it shows, not an accident, that he really wants his own dog. Not just a dog, he wants his own dog. He wants it to be his. And it would seem that he gets it in this paragraph, but as he explains, saying a thing is so doesn't mean that it is. And in reality, this dog is not his dog, it's his father's dog. So where does that leave us? Well, when we plan out a story, like we see in this one, we want to have moments that we can see what our character really wants. What is motivating our character? And in both of these scenes, they showcase what motivates our character, the desire to have something they can call their own. And things get in the way both times, or could have. And so in this next part, I am going to go through the process of trying to decide what my character wants, what motivates them, and immediately then decide what could possibly get in the way. This is the quality work of planning out our character that everyone has to do. Follow along with me. I think one of my character's main motivations is they really want to have friends. Not only do they want to have friends, but they want to feel like everyone is their friend. And part of that is that they want to be able to actually say that they're popular, or have someone tell them, oh, well, you're popular. And so now I'm going to switch off and I'm going to say something that might get in the way of that. Not being willing to put in time to be someone's close friend could get in the way of that. Or trying to please everyone could lead to him making some people upset with him. Okay, I'm going to switch over to another idea, another motivation for him. So something else that he wants is he wants to be kind of at peace with everybody. He really hopes that nobody's upset with him. He doesn't want to have people mad at him. Like, it causes him stress, which, as we can start to see now, is going to be an issue, to where he wants to be friends with everyone, but he wants to please people, which causes him sometimes to do things to other people that aren't nice, which then comes back to his first problem of being friends with everyone. So I'm going to write in here, he wants to be at peace with everyone and not be having any fights. Along with that, because it's kind of also what I'm talking about, he doesn't want to be in any arguments. Like, he's trying to avoid conflict. And as you can start to see, sometimes these goals or motivations, things that they want, end up at sort of being like obstacles for some of the other ones, especially for my character, because he's kind of mixed up in his head. So what might get in the way of having peace with everyone, not having fights, and trying to avoid conflicts? Being susceptible to peer pressure and trying to please everyone, which again is an obstacle for a previous idea. And I'm thinking these two motivations and obstacles are pretty similar to each other, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I want to make sure that my character isn't just this one-dimensional person, that in some way they go a little deeper than this, because I don't want to just have to write scene after scene where this is the only thing that happens. While this is the main thing that I will be talking about, I do want there to be other things in there. And so I think that my character is going to have some extra qualities to them. Like, they want to be a good athlete. Like, start on the basketball team for the middle school and the football team. And I already know right now what's going to get in the way of that. It's a pretty common thing, especially with these types of issues or motivations that this student has. I'm going to say that the thing that gets in the way of them being a good athlete for basketball and football is they're kind of afraid of failure. Not only are they afraid of failure, but more specifically, they're afraid kind of working hard and putting themselves out there. They feel that if they seem to care too much about something, that people will think less of them. I know today we would call that being a tryhard. Afraid of being a tryhard. And this just kind of made me think back of something along the way to show what my character, who ends up being a bully, I still think that's going to happen. Something that might be affecting them is that in the past, maybe they had some instances of being bullied. So I might just add that as a quick little obstacle, obstacle is that they may lash out at other people. No, that's not quite right. Not that they're lashing out. They may be afraid of being bullied themselves. Riders, here we are at the end of our time together, and I hope that you found today useful. If you did, remember, share, like, subscribe. But more importantly, let's remember what we did learn. So, every character has motivations, things that they want, goals that they'd like to achieve. And they don't just have one of them, they have multiple. Like we saw in our story, Everything Will Be Okay, our main character, he seems like he wants this cat. He seems like maybe he just wants something of his own. And as the story continues, we could make guesses as to other things maybe that are driving him, like to earn his dad's approval. By the end of the story, though, some of the obstacles that get in the way of that end up changing our character. And at the end, our character realizes that he's going to be his own man going forward. Not the kind of man that Paul, his brother, wants him to be, and not the kind of man that his dad wants him to be. So we need to clearly understand that relationship. Obstacles get in the way of what our character wants, which creates realizations. That is often how it happens. So I hope that today, during your time now that you're going to be working on your own, you try a couple different scenes out, focused on this, showing what your character's goal/motivation is, and seeing if you can't hint at obstacles that are going to get in the way of that. Hopefully you jotted down what some of those were today during our time together, and now it's time to explore those in scenes about your character. It's worth it. Until next time, happy writing.